Ever felt like you lacked a certain anti-vehicle oomph when choosing a light assault? Ever thought the air meta of lock-on spammage was getting boring? Well, then I may have some good news for you. Currently on the Planetside 2 public test server are several changes, including the Rocklet mini rocket launcher and lots of air game tweaks. Remember, everything here is a work in progress and is subject to change, but I'm going to go over what is currently on the test server. The light assault on the PTS has the Rocklet equipped by default. It can either fire heat rounds for damage to vehicles, buildings, and mortar maxes, or slugs, which are okay against infantry. You do not have to alternate fire modes as you would usually. All you do is left click for the rockets or right click for the slugs. There are currently 3 ammunition types including smoke, which you can also equip alongside the slugs or heat shots. The Rocklet has a pretty large cone of fire indicated with the shotgun style reticule. Currently, while hovering, the reticule will grow exponentially until you stop flying. Although it doesn't seem to actually affect the cone of fire, it may need some more testing on that one. The slugs can kill in 2 headshots up to 20 meters, but the likelihood of that happening due to the cone of fire is quite slim unless they're completely still. The rockets themselves are more of a pest than anything. They do little damage to vehicles, but realistically couldn't kill anything other than a flash alone. To fire a smoke, it takes 3 rockets for each of them. However, as it can refill at an ammo box, you could just spam the smoke. Even without resupplying, it was able to drop my frames per second from 120 to 60, a reduction of half. And that was just from the smoke and no action really taking place in the VR training room. This could be a big problem, and currently it's quite ridiculous that an engineer can stand there and spam smoke and cover a whole base on their own. I think the Rocklet has been added partly to give the light assault a bit more defense against vehicles, but also to allow it to take part in the destruction of player bases. Personally, I would prefer just to get rid of the smoke and the slug ability, as it feels fairly redundant. Keep its main function as giving light assault a way to take on construction items and a little bit more defense against vehicles. Also, I don't like the RNG aspect of the Rocklet. There is no skill involved at all. It'd be interesting to have a higher damage rocket launcher, very slow velocity, and no splash. Light assaults have such a Z-axis advantage that it does need to be something which you can respond to, in my opinion. Maybe even call it the spin fuser and put in a ground gliding implant. Tribes aside, I think it needs a lot of work and the weapon is in an awkward place at the moment. Eventually, it could be interesting to have a Rocklet light assault with Icarus jump jets and the safe landing implant. The air game is also set to get a shake-up, with the composite armor buff, engagement radar buff going up to 600 meters at max, changes to the Empire-specific nose guns making them have no damage drop-off, a nerf to the Vortex rotary, slightly lowering the velocity on the Sauron default nose gun, and the big changes coming to Tomcats, the lock-ons effectively going from needing 3 hits to kill to 5 on an ESF. Tomcats have repeatedly called a no-skill game wrecker by the devout Sky Knight. Now it will mean the hover nose gunner user will have much more opportunity to react and engage and win against a lock-on user. The Coyote, however, has received a buff to the acceleration of the projectiles. Honestly, I think it isn't in a good place. It really is a fire slightly near an enemy hit weapon, no skill required whatsoever, and in hover battles it goes toe-to-toe with a nose gunner. Something worth mentioning is a lot of pilots suggested buffing the Hailstorm and M18 to meet the NC Vortex rather than nerfing it. The nose gun rush has always been a tactic, but often it will still lose to someone with the default nose gun hover maneuvering away. Personally, I never saw it as a problem, and people that actually did it had quite a lot of skill and a lot of experience in doing it. The engagement radar is currently default on the PTS, which lights up enemies unless they have stealth. I can see the reasoning behind this in that newer pilots may not even be able to tell where they are getting hit from, and you can't really learn anything from that. But a lot of people are worried it will dumb down the flying experience. We also have some nerfs to the PPA with smaller splash and lower clip size, and a nerf to the air hammer reducing its AoE and also refire time. This is one step to lessening the power of the air-to-ground ESF. The air game is in an odd place at the moment though. There is almost a complete twilight between the newer players and the Sky veterans. Newer players often can't even turn to meet whatever is shooting them. A lot fly the ESF like a fighter jet rather than the VTOL that it is, and can't respond. I think Daybreak needs to acknowledge that the hover maneuver is so integral to competing in the air, and try to attempt to teach it to noobs through a tutorial, or with some form of screen prompts, maybe when you are ready to actually pull the hover maneuver into place. And I don't see them completely overhauling the flight mechanics now, and it is a big elephant in the room. I made a video quite a long time ago when I could actually fly properly, following newer pilots around and basically just dodging them to the point that they gave up trying to attack me without me actually attacking them. And that sort of shows how much the hover maneuver has an impact on the air game. There are also some little changes, new Lubrifiber Araxium for the Lubrifiber you already have, and then we have, in honour of Recon Darts, the player that only used Recon Darts to get to Battle Rank 100, the Golden Recon Dart tool. So now they can get to Battle Rank 120 in style. Anyway, what does everyone else think of the new changes? What would you do to the Rocklet Rifle to make it more viable, or do you like where it is at the moment? What about the Sky changes? Do the Sky Knights think they might change up their preferred nose guns, or will this just be a bad change? If you enjoyed the content, Rocklet that like button. If you thought it was rubbish, hover maneuver the dislike button. If you want to see more Planetside 2 goodness, hit subscribe. Until next time everyone, Joshino.